The Xbox ROG Ally, the prices may have leaked if, I guess, the conversion does transfer across every place in the world. It looks like we have some more information on Black Ops 6 that's going to be happening at Gamescom. Now we know why the ZeniMax Online MMORPG, the new one that was being worked on, potentially was canceled. One of the main reasons behind it. Xbox hardware is not dead, but there are going to be changes, and Digital Foundry kind of weighs in on that. We have some more information about Nintendo stories with Donkey Kong Bananza, and PlayStation is still working on games. Sony Santa Monica, their next game is in the works, and apparently it is going well. So we will jump into all of this. Before we do continue, if you enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe, share, like, all of that stuff really helps get the video out there to more people and helps grow the channel. So I do appreciate it, but for now, let's get into it. So the big Xbox hardware that is going to be dropping this year, Xbox branded hardware, however you want to go about it. This is a part of the Xbox ecosystem, and the Xbox lineup is the ROG Xbox Ally. There's two versions of this one. There is the lesser version, which is the white one. Then there is the higher end with the Z2 Extreme chip in it, which is the black one. And they showed this off at the Xbox showcase this year. It has some nice ergonomics to it. I like how they have the actual handles on the controllers. One of my biggest things with handhelds, especially now using the Nintendo Switch 2, is just how fast my hands fall asleep and cramp up if there's not good ergonomics. So I was really happy to see that. The other big thing here is that new user interface that they are going to be putting on there, which I believe is going to be signaling a future where you're getting access to all of the different launchers on Xbox. I think that's also going to be coming over to the console. Just here, obviously waiting for the point where you're getting console, PC all in one place at your at-home console and your handhelds and everywhere in the Xbox ecosystem. I do believe that's the future. So that's exciting. And I think the ROG Xbox Ally is where they are kicking everything off. But one of the biggest questions people have is how much are these going to cost? Because as of right now, the Ally X, I believe, is $900, $950, depending on when you do pick it up. And people are thinking that the ROG Xbox Ally is going to be dropping in at around the same price, or the ROG Xbox Ally X will be dropping in around the same price. But we have a leak here that is putting it right now with the conversion to US dollars at a higher price point than the current ROG Xbox or the current ROG Ally X. So many different names out there, but here it is. Here is the leak that is happening. And as I said, there's two versions of this one, the white one and the black one. And it looks like there will be that $300 difference between the two. The leak as of right now, and this actually comes from Asus's website itself. So they accidentally put this out, and it's suggesting that the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X will closely match their predecessors in retail price, at least in Europe, where the Ally X is going to be 899 euros and the Ally is going to be 599 euros. The big difference here is the Z1 Extreme Asus ROG Ally X is currently 899 euros. And if you take a look as to what is inside these Xbox ones, they have the Z2 APUs in them. So there is that slight upgrade there, that upgrade there overall that will be better than the current Xbox Ally X on the market. The Ally X, the first handheld that will have the Z2 Extreme, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to in terms of just seeing how big and how good the chip is going to be in handhelds. Obviously, one of the main things is battery life. Are they going to be able to get good battery life out of this thing? We will obviously see. But to me, there's two stories that come out of this. Is this leak true? And will that translate directly over to US dollars and then the other currencies around the world? Because if you are translating that over to US dollars, the highest end one here, the Ally X, is going to be over $1,000, about $1,050 or something along those lines. And that will be a very tough selling point for a lot of people. I think with this new chip in there, if it is $899, even though it's only going to be a couple $100 less than where we're seeing the conversion right now, that will have people more interested in picking this up and easier to market, in my opinion, if they put that out at $899. So we will see if those numbers translate directly, if the conversions translate directly, or will it be 899 euros? And then they'll also maybe take not a direct translation to USD and sell it for 899 US dollars. The other thing here, the story that I think is that there's a $300 price gap between the Ally, the Xbox Ally, and the Xbox Ally X. And for a lot of people, $300 is where you're looking at this and thinking, do I really need that extra power? Do I really need to upgrade to the more expensive one, or will I be okay here with the lesser version? Sometimes we see two SKUs come out and there's like $150 difference. And for a lot of people, they'll look at that and think, well, I'll just wait and save up an extra $100. But $300 is a big difference here. So I can't wait to see the comparisons between the two and just how big of a bump is there. Is it really going to be worth that extra $300 if you are just looking to get into this Xbox ecosystem, into the handheld? So I'm excited about that stuff, but that is right now what we see here with the pricing. €599, €899. When we get the official announcement from Asus, which I'm assuming will be happening relatively soon because these things are coming out this year. And if they've leaked it off of their own website, they're preparing for some sort of marketing campaign to give us the pricing for these handhelds. We will know the answer here. The handheld looks exciting. The price may turn people off if it's over $1,000. So stay tuned for when we get the official announcement in the US dollars and other currencies around the world. Now, as we know, games did get canceled at Xbox the other week that went along with the layoffs. One of those games was Blackbird, which was from ZeniMax Online, and it was a big open world MMO third-person RPG. I think there was also like looter shooter elements in it that I had read, and it seemed like the management, the leadership at Xbox were actually impressed with this game, but it hadn't been released. It was still in development for a long time. So they went ahead and they axed it. And now we have some more information as to one of the reasons why they may have canceled it. And I think for people out there hearing this, you're going to see a lot of fans of this series be okay with it because they would much rather see a new Fallout. But again, this is just a rumor right now. This comes via Xbox 2's podcast, Jez Corden, who spoke about Microsoft's decision to cancel ZeniMax Online Studios' Project Blackbird. And according to Corden, the decision to cancel the game was a situation where Microsoft had to decide if they wanted to continue spending money on a game that may or may not compete with games like World of Warcraft, or would the money be better suited focusing on an established franchise. He quoted here saying, "From what I heard, it was a case of trade-offs, and that program to expand Fallout 5 and just Fallout in general, that's where they decided to make the investments and where the money will be translated into more of a surefire win." This does not shock me. I would absolutely believe that this would be the case why they decide to cancel the games they did decide to cancel, because even with Perfect Dark, and I know we saw gameplay of that one, but the three games, Perfect Dark, Everwild, and this Project Blackbird, not a single one of those were guaranteed wins in any form, especially Everwild and this upcoming MMO that ZeniMax was working on. Perfect Dark, it could have done better because it does have more of a name, but the reality is I think the overall fan base for Perfect Dark is not nearly as big as some people think it is. So that one may have even not been a massive success. And what we've seen across the entire industry, not just at Xbox, but at many other studios and companies, is that they're shrinking their scopes of the types of games that they do make. And they're focusing on games that will almost guarantee them to make a good amount of money and have a good profit margin on them just from the names. And they also released this year the Oblivion remake out of nowhere. That game sold insanely well. So they're probably looking at that and thinking, we have all these big names. We just need to double down on those, put out new games for that, and we'll be able to meet all of the goals going forward, and everything will be able to grow. I'm not saying I agree with that overall strategy, but that is where the industry is going right now. When we started this generation, Xbox was in the strategy of, we'll greenlight everything. We'll greenlight tons of different games and try different things out and see how it goes. But I just don't think right now, with the amount it's costing to develop games and the amount of people that are sticking and playing the same game like Fortnite and free-to-play games, that these companies want to take those risks anymore. So I could see them doing that. And if you're a Fallout fan, I'm sure you're going to look at this and say, well, yeah, I'd much rather have Fallout than whatever ZeniMax Online was working out with this brand new RPG. So you'll have that end of the coin as well, now that more information is starting to trickle out. Xbox hardware, we just talked about the Xbox ROG Ally. We're getting more Xbox hardware. It's not just going to be that handheld. There will be an at-home console. They've basically confirmed all of those things about the next generation of Xbox. Digital Foundry now has weighed in on all of this, and they are saying here big changes are coming as the hardware, of course, is not dead. This is what they had to say about the upcoming Xbox hardware. We see this in the Windows space with Surface devices, where Microsoft participates in the Windows ecosystem, but they're not necessarily the only player in that ecosystem. They are one of many players in the ecosystem. The Xbox, traditionally with the last 4 generations of hardware, has been a pretty strong vision. Here is an Xbox Series X. We're going to support it for a generation. It has a console OS. It has exclusive games. It will go toe-to-toe with PlayStation with competitive pricing. This isn't that, or at least to some degree, it's not that. In significant ways, it's not that vision. Then they go on here. John Lindemann does agree here that a Windows-like device is sounding like the only way forward at this point with Xbox consoles and Xbox hardware, which, I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to give an Xbox handheld that is based off of Windows, has the own custom operating system that I think will eventually get updated to be able to bring in your own Xbox console games that you currently own, you're just going to take that and you're going to transfer that onto the console device and give you complete access to Windows and give you access to Steam. And we've already seen Steam integration into the Xbox app. So they are preparing for that. I think that is the signal that that is the future going forward. And I think for a lot of people, that's extremely exciting. For me as well, having massive libraries on Windows and PC and Steam, and then also on my Xbox console, if I can put those two together in one place and have devices that play everything, I am absolutely all for that future for the Xbox hardware. Call of Duty Black Ops 7, we're going to get another glimpse at this one, or I guess a first real glimpse at it. We've seen some stuff come out about it, but there will be a reveal at Gamescom opening night live. So this is the next big show to look forward to. They do say here that the worldwide reveal of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will take place at Gamescom opening night live. And in a post on social media, Jeff Keighley announced that the game will make an appearance during the show in a massive way. If you're looking to tune into Gamescom opening night live, it is August 19th, 2025 at 8 p.m. So that's when the next major show will be hitting, where we will see a bunch of great games that have probably already been announced and probably some new stuff. And then, of course, a big look here at Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which you've already seen. They ended off the Xbox showcase with Black Ops 7. So if you're a fan of that series, you'll definitely want to tune in for that. Okay, let's talk a bit of Nintendo stuff here. There is some more stuff happening here with their games. Their next big game here is Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I think is going to be very good and extremely fun to play. One of the things with Nintendo games, people don't ever really look at them for like frame rates and graphics and just technical advancement in gaming. They are looking at it for gameplay and just pure fun factor. And I think this one will hit all of those marks. But there is something happening here where Nintendo has basically just said, yeah, there are performance issues with this game. We know they're there. They're going to be there because we are prioritizing fun over performance issues, which is a weird sentiment, especially if this was a different company like a PlayStation or Xbox coming out and saying that they would be absolutely destroyed for having performance issues and just saying, well, that's just part of the game because we're focusing on gameplay. People wouldn't really stand for that. But we do have Nintendo saying this, and generally people will not care. This is speaking to Spanish outlet La Vanguardia. Nintendo's Kazuya Takahashi was asked about frame drops, and the interviewer noticed them when playing. And here's what Takahashi says. There are several factors to consider. First, we intentionally used effects like hit stop and slow motion to emphasize impact. Second, because we use voxel technology, there are times when there are major changes and destruction in the environment. We're aware that performance may drop slightly at these times. However, as you say, overall the game is smooth, and at points where large-scale changes occur, we prioritize fun and playability. So he's basically saying there will be drops, and this is just kind of what has to happen to have all of the gameplay that we want in this game happen. And you're going to have to live with the drops. And I honestly, I see people online complaining about this and saying, yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, if they were to say this, they would be destroyed. And I agree, they would be taken to task on saying things like that. But Nintendo, it doesn't matter for them. People don't really care. If you're playing Nintendo Switch 2 right now, you're playing Donkey Kong Bonanza when it comes out, if it's extremely fun, you're not going to care at all about frame drops in random spots of this game. Nobody's really going to have their gameplay affected because of this. I mean, you can just take the case in point of Pokemon. When that game launched, the most recent Pokemon's on the Nintendo Switch 1, how terribly performing that game was, how bad the graphics were, really looked like a very old, just unfinished game graphically. And it sold 10 million copies. I think it was in just like a few days or so. And it was fun to play still. people didn't care. They're not going to care about this. Nintendo does get held to a different standard, and that's just kind of the way it is because of the way that they have created their marketplace and who they appeal to. And they appeal a lot to kids and stuff who don't care at all and look into frame rates and resolutions. And I think on Nintendo's part, it's actually a very smart strategy to realize that, yeah, most people aren't going to care about this. We're going to make the game as fun as possible, and that's going to overtake any sort of discussions over how the game looks and what the frame rates are. It's just the reality of where we are in game right now, comparing Nintendo to PlayStation and to Xbox. The other thing here that is interesting is Nintendo switched to dev kits. For some reason, this is something happening here. Like, devs aren't getting dev kits in their hands to be able to create these games. There's this information here that Nintendo Switch to dev kit situation still hasn't improved as many developers still lack access. And there is a new direct that is potentially coming here in July as we get closer to the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza. Speaking on the latest episode of the Nate the Hate podcast, who's an insider who's gotten a lot of stuff right, confirmed that many developers still lack dev kits. They say which is preventing from working on Nintendo Switch 2 games with no explanation for why they're not being given access. And Nintendo previously operated like Sony and Microsoft, working with a priority list that pinpointed major partners that would get dev kits early. But this time around, the company is operating differently and is still handling dev kit access as if the system were still a secret, which is super weird. I wonder if they're just kind of trying to wait to make sure that when these dev kits get sent out to more developers, they'll be able to utilize it to the highest end possible. And right now, they only trust a couple of developers to actually be able to use dev kit properly to get games running better with the Nintendo Switch 2. We just got Tony Hawk 3+4 on the Switch 2, which runs way better than on the Switch 1, kind of closer to where we are with the Series X PS5. Obviously not as good, but they gave obviously the dev kits to Activision to be able to get that game on there, but there's still other devs out there that are looking for a dev kit for the Nintendo Switch 2. And then on top of that, what makes this all more interesting is that there potentially is going to be a Nintendo Direct scheduled for the second half of July. And if there's a bunch of developers out there who don't have their games really ready to go because they don't have dev kits, or what announcements are going to be at this Direct? What stuff are they going to focus on? Is it going to be mainly first party focus? And then you'll kind of see which third parties have these dev kits and are able to prepare their games by announcements you do see at these upcoming Nintendo Directs. PlayStation, they are still making games, of course, and Sony Santa Monica, it looks like they are working on their next game, and it is going well, which for a lot of fans of God of War will be very interested and excited to see exactly what it is that they are doing and what's going to turn out from them. And this is all according to Jason Schreier, that Cory Barlog's upcoming game is reportedly Sony Santa Monica's next big thing, which doesn't sound like to me this is going to be another game in the God of War series. And he says the latest details on Santa Monica Studios' upcoming game come from Jason Schreier. When asked about the development status of Cory Barlog's next game, Schreier replied, Cory Barlog's game is SSM's, or Sony Santa Monica's next big thing. Last time I spoke to anyone about it a month or two ago, it was going well, and we have no other details about this project. There are obviously hiring for this, and this was in July of 2025. So they're ramping up here. I wonder when we are going to see this. My other biggest question is, like, when are we getting a real PlayStation showcase? Because we know they've canceled a ton of games because of the whole live service push. So they are pivoting a bit here. When will they have enough first party games with a vertical slice ready to show off to have a major PlayStation showcase to give us a look at the future of what is coming from their first party studios? Because it's been dry overall over the last number of years, with really only one major release from their first party studios every year. This year's game is going to be Ghost of Yotai. So there has been a time where they've released multiple games and we got a look and a glimpse as to exactly what is in the works from every studio. I would love to have a major PlayStation showcase soon. I'm thinking 2026, we will finally be there. I thought 2025 was the year that PlayStation was going to just unleash a bunch of announcements. But the reality is I did not end up predicting that they were going to cancel all of these live service games and have this major pivot, which I think has held them back now even more than what I had previously expected. But I'll end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.